When you start any creative work, you need a strong hook. Now, exposition isn't usually a good way to hook your audience, but explaining the premise doesn't overstay its welcome. The most important thing you need to pay attention to is that this show is riddled with contrast. From the get-go, you see it in action.
It stands as a defense against the forces of evil.
Oh, well, that isn't important. For now, let's roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Going from a gruff narrator to Death having a funny voice is just one. But then we're immediately put into a horror scenario with a monstrous Jack the Ripper. Yes, that's Jack the Ripper. Though we had a whole exposition, we now get shown the actual premise. These people eating people's souls, which turn them into monsters. And this is the real hook. The woman below Jack the Ripper and Maka and Soul are even above Jack, showing who has the real power. Now we get treated to a phenomenal action sequence that took top-of-the-line talent to create. And in this freeze frame, we see the contrast between Jack the Ripper, with his limbs splayed chaotically around him, and the stoic and cool stance of Maka, showcasing their personalities and experience. Usually, animation studios will save this level of animation for the end of a season because it requires a large amount of the budget, but Bones and Aniplex were smart, knowing that it's better to start the show off with something so bombastic if it were going to stand out from the crowd. Not just the fight, but Maka and Soul are contrasting as well. Soul is focused on being relaxed, laid back, and cool. Maka is studious and well-mannered.
We'll freaking kill you.
See how cool I am? You think I'm gonna settle for a flat-chested girl like her?
What did you just say?
Now, immediately you see the sex appeal in this show. Funny enough, this sort of thing doesn't last long. The first 3 episodes have this goofy, sexy approach, but keep in mind that shonen anime and manga usually front-load sex appeal as a cheap trick to get their prepubescent audience hooked on the story, and then slowly wean out the sexiness. Naruto did the same thing with his sexy jutsu. The first episode's sequencing focuses on heavy contrast, what we thought would be an insanely serious show, with the opening scenes being a woman being murdered and a monster being assassinated, to a couple of kids having to deal with Soul not being able to fight because he's too turned on by Blair. Switching back to more action, there's actually not a lot of in-between with this show. It's either intense or goofy.
Is that dumb girl of yours giving you a hard time? Why don't you forget about her and come be mine? I would never ever yell at you like she is, no matter what you did to me.
Raise your hand if this show gave you a witch kink, and a goth girl kink, and a cat girl kink. Yeah, that's what I thought,